Donald Trump is looking to recover after a disastrous week, and a CBS News Battleground Tracker poll shows it may already be taking a toll. Hillary Clinton is leading Trump by 12 points in the key swing state of Virginia, 49% to 37%. And the race is effectively tied in two important western states. In Nevada, Clinton holds a narrow 2-point edge, while Trump is gripping to a 2-point lead in Arizona, a predominantly red state that has only gone blue once since 1948. Rick Davis, CBSN political contributor, Republican strategist, and former campaign manager for John McCain, is here. All right, Rick, so much to get to. Let's start with this. What kind of threat does Donald Trump pose to those down ballot across the country?
Yeah, currently it's probably at its worst time because voters are trying to figure out where they're going to go, who they're going to sit on for a while. And there's not a lot of differentiation. In other words, they see Republicans and they see Democrats and lots of candidates on both sides. So it's blended together. I think as the campaign wages on, especially after we get past Labor Day and the presidential race sort of settles in, I think then you'll see some clarity between Senate candidates, governor candidates, and House candidates versus the presidential candidate. But right now, it's sort of all in the big mixing bowl.
All right, so let's get a little specific here. Let's talk about Arizona and your old boss, who is really facing perhaps one of the most difficult re-election bids of his political career. Do you think that voters in Arizona will be able to separate the Donald Trump campaign from the John McCain campaign?
Yeah, he's actually the one example that probably stands out. Not only does he have tough races, but the reality is he's been on this ballot 5 times. He spent millions and millions of dollars, both in 2 presidential races and 5, races for Congress and the Senate. So he's a known entity, right? So the reality is Donald Trump, who literally has only a Twitter account, has no ability to really impact John McCain's ballot, right? He can sort of play around the edges, but John McCain is much better known, much better financed, and much better campaign on the ground in Arizona than Donald Trump does. Donald Trump's campaign doesn't have money for TV. John McCain's going to spend $15 million on TV this cycle. Donald Trump doesn't have a single paid staffer in the state of Arizona. John McCain and the various committees supporting him have hundreds of staffers in the state of Arizona. So it's a little bit night and day there. I would say what's troubling is only being 2 points up in the state of Arizona, right? I mean, Arizona's the kind of state where you should be 10 points up as a Republican candidate for national office right now. We used to have a saying in the 2 presidential campaigns we ran in Arizona, we're never going to spend a penny in Arizona because if Arizona doesn't vote for John McCain, it's over, right? And if Arizona doesn't vote for Donald Trump, it's over.
All right, but let me just ask you one more question about this. Donald Trump always says that he's bringing in more people into this process, people who maybe have sat on the sidelines and are now, for reasons that he says vary, but border security being one of those issues, are now fired up. How concerning is that in Arizona for John McCain? Is there that possibility that there are people who aren't necessarily folks who've participated in the past who might be animated by this issue of border
security? There's simply no evidence that any of these new voters are coming, right? If you look at the survey data, he's had this strategy that has been born out of the primary where he got basically 35% of most of the primary votes in all these states to win, is that, they're made up of basically rural white males without college degrees, and he has raised the number of those individuals participating in the process, but he's decreased the number of everybody else, women head of household, women with college, men with college degrees, minorities. They have vanished from the Trump coalition. So the offset is much worse than what he brings to the table as far as new voters in a certain small demographic. He's running a campaign to get 35% of the vote, and right now he's being successful because that's where he's headed, down to about 35% of the vote.
Some Republicans are not just distancing themselves, they're vowing to basically stand up to Donald Trump. Mike Kaufman, a House Republican, is the first with an anti-Trump ad. Let's go ahead and play that for our viewers.
People ask me, what do you think about Trump? Honestly, I don't care for him much, and I certainly don't trust Hillary. I'm a Marine. For me, country comes first. My duty is always to you. So if Donald Trump is the president, I'll stand up to him. Plain and simple.
So, Rick, you've been around a long time. How surprising is it to see that ad coming from a Republican?
Well, I don't think it's surprising considering where the state of the race is. If Donald Trump were 15 points up, not 15 points down, you'd have a different reaction from Republicans. I was on the Bob Dole campaign in 1996. We knew in September that he wasn't going to win the election. There weren't a lot of Republicans running, pro-Bob Dole messages in their reelection campaigns. But what he did is he said, look, I know I'm not going to win. I'm not going to beat Bill Clinton. And so I'm going to go out and actually help the races that do have, that I can have an impact in. And so he strategically picked places around the country to campaign where his franchise value was still positive. I don't think there's any chance right now that Donald Trump, if he's 15 points down or 12 points down on September 15th, is going to say, you know what, I've got to do what's right for the party. And so I do think we're headed to a different dynamic. And I think candidates like him and Mike Kirk and others who know that they're in states that are not going to be won by Donald Trump, they got to go out on their own.
All right, Rick Davis, clock is ticking here till Election Day. Thanks so much.
Thank you.